Before his hearings last week, Kavanaugh and the White House declined to answer any further questions, from reporters and senators alike, about the nominee's finances. No senators asked about Kavanaugh's financial situation during the televised hearings, but Democrats on the Judiciary Committee submitted several detailed questions in writing afterward. Kavanaugh's answers, released on Wednesday, contradict the White House account in many important respects. "Over the years, we carried some personal debt," Kavanaugh wrote, referring to himself and his wife. But he denied that the debt was related to the baseball tickets in the way Shaw had described, which would have amounted to loaning his friends the cost of their tickets until they got around to reimbursing him. Kavanaugh says he signed up for 12 years of Nationals season tickets when the team moved to Washington, D.C., in 2005. "I am a huge sports fan," Kavanaugh explains. He split up those tickets with old friends, whom he still declines to name, through a ticket draft held at his house. However, Kavanaugh wrote, "Everyone in the group paid me for their tickets based on the cost of the tickets, to the dollar. No one overpaid or underpaid me for tickets. No loans were given in either direction." The White House account implied that Kavanaugh had in effect loaned his friends the cost of the tickets for at least a month or two, while he financed the expense on his credit cards. Kavanaugh did not repeat that claim. After this story was published, a White House official called to say the administration's account of the baseball ticket arrangements is not in conflict with Kavanaugh's, and the Washington Post report from July is misleading. The new account revives questions about Kavanaugh's overall financial situation, and suggestions that he lived beyond what he could afford on his relatively modest income as a federal circuit court judge. The version told by the White House in July had addressed that question, but had the drawback that it struck many observers as unlikely. "It's strange to imagine that a man of comparatively modest means would put tens of thousands of dollars on credit cards to buy baseball tickets," The Atlantic's David Graham wrote at the time. Many also noted that Nationals season tickets simply aren't expensive enough to explain such significant debt. And the friends who supposedly were part of this arrangement have never been identified or come forward. Kavanaugh's new story about his credit card debt has the advantage of being far more plausible, allowing for the fact that it paints Shaw as, to put it politely, misinformed. Many people's finances are a balancing act of sorts. It is eminently believable that the Kavanaugh family ran up substantial personal debt on their credit cards while they were trying to juggle living on a judge's salary and bearing the expenses associated with climbing the ranks of Washington society, including membership in a ritzy country club. The new story no longer involves an eye-rolling account of a federal judge incurring high-interest credit card debt for unnamed friends. But it is notably missing the facts and figures that would allow others to verify its claims. For all its plausibility, Kavanaugh's explanation renews some of the serious concerns that Shaw's initial account obscured. A federal judge and his wife were saddled with a credit card burden that, in fact, they did carry year over year, a financial anchor from which they couldn't seem to free themselves for nearly a dozen years. Anyone with the experience of carrying a significant credit card balance knows the pressure that revolving interest at high rates puts on a family. How much interest did they ultimately have to pay? How did the Kavanaughs manage to stay afloat during 12 lean years? What deals and compromises, if any, did they make to do so? If Kavanaugh's 2017 repayment of his debts is not directly derived from the infusion of money he received in 2014, where did it come from? Many Americans have complicated financial situations. Nevertheless, we ask federal judges and judicial nominees to disclose their affairs sufficiently to show that there are no unknown conflicts of interest that could interfere with the judge's ability to do their job. After months of questions about Kavanaugh's personal financial situation, it remains nearly as murky as it was the day President Trump called him forward in the East Room.